Mr. President, Excellencies, dear colleagues, while we align ourselves with the statement that will be delivered by the European Union, on behalf of Hungary, I wish to make the following remarks in my national capacity. Mr. President, on 7th October, Hamas launched Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, a brutal surprise attack into Israel that included a barrage of over 3,000 missiles. Around 1,500 terrorists infiltrated Israel, targeting civilians and civilian locations, including residential areas and residential civilian locations. This resulted in more than 1,400 fatal casualties, more than 4,000 wounded, and more than 200 soldiers and civilians who have been taken hostage. I'm here today to condemn in the strongest possible terms these barbaric and heinous terrorist attacks carried out by Hamas and the ongoing indiscriminate missile attacks against Israeli civilians. Palestinian civilians must also be protected. In this context, Hamas must cease to use civilians as a human shield. In face of such violent terrorist attacks executed by Hamas, Hungary strongly emphasizes Israel's right for self-defense. We call on Hamas to cease its attacks on Israel and immediately release all hostages without any condition, to stop the bloodshed and spare all civilians from further suffering. The region is witnessing one of the most difficult crises in its modern history. Therefore, we must utilize our collective diplomatic efforts and our collective capabilities and engagement in order to achieve de-escalation of the tensions and avoid this fight against terror turning into a full-fledged military conflict between countries, engulfing the region into the horrors of war. Make no mistake, armed and extremist groups operating in the region will make every effort to take advantage of this conflict to further their destructive agenda. Mr. President, immediate, safe, sustainable, and unhindered delivery of humanitarian aid should reach those vulnerable civilians that are in real need in Gaza, whilst ensuring that such aid is not abused by terrorist organizations. It is also crucial for humanitarian assistance and medical support to reach those held in captivity as hostages. It is essential that warring parties maintain a minimum of humanity even during the worst of war. We appreciate the extensive efforts made by Egypt, the UN specialized agencies, and the ICRC to support the delivery of aid. As I mentioned at the beginning, it must be a priority to prevent regional escalation, including the deterioration of the situation in the West Bank. We call on all regional actors to refrain from any action that can further aggravate the situation. We underline the need to engage broadly with the Palestinian Authority, the Israeli authorities, as well as regional and international partners who could have a positive role to play in preventing further escalation. We remain committed to a lasting and sustainable peace through reinvigorated efforts. Mr. President, we are at a global inflection point. International peace and security has not faced such a serious challenge since the Cold War. Yet, the international community and the UN, once again, has not been able to fulfill its mandate and stabilize conflicts and restore peace. While acknowledging that the situation in the Middle East in general is extremely complex and multifaceted, offering no easy solutions, we have to emphasize we must not let terrorists achieve their goal. We must not let these terrorist attacks jeopardize the hard-won recent achievements, including, in particular, the Abraham Accords. We should not let the darkness of terrorism extinguish the beacon of hope. Terrorist acts must never be condoned, as this will undermine the very fabric of the democratic and peaceful societies. Thank you for your attention.
This has been the Nod News Network. Transmission complete.